You know, we're living in the safest period of the U.S. Civil aviation history. We can all be thankful for that, and we want to sustain that. We're also looking at one of the longest and most profitable sustained periods for the airlines. Combined after-tax profit, $25.6 billion in 15, including $6.8 billion in bag and reservation change fees. And I'd like to recognize that Brad Tilden here, representing Alaska, registered a record profit in 16 of nearly $1 billion. Congratulations. And a healthy industry is good for everyone, and travelers, employees, our economy as a whole, and we want to see this continue into the future. I am concerned, and Ranking Member Larson raised it earlier, about the IT situation. We had many thousands, tens of thousands of people stranded over the last couple of years because of IT meltdowns, some that relate to the dispatch of the planes, some that relate to the reservation systems. In one high-profile event, Chicago Midway Airport by a travel blogger was described as a war zone with the floors covered by stranded passengers. None of the airlines represented here today caused those disruptions, although SkyWest partnered some that did, and I'm going to be interested if Mr. Childs has any reflection upon how difficult it was for them and their intended passengers because of those problems. So the bill we introduced would give people, people in Chicago Midway were just told, go look at your, by that particular airline, go look at your contract of carriage if you want to know what you can get. We think it should be a little more clear than paging through the fine print somewhere online what obligations the airlines have when the airline itself has caused the problem with an IT meltdown. So we've introduced that bill today. The most important issue, as I said earlier, is safety. We have Colgan families here today, many of whom I've met with and worked with in the past, and I appreciate your persistence. I think it was probably, I first raised the issue of 250 hours rating back in the early 90s. It took way too long to change that, and unfortunately you had tremendous losses that ultimately did lead to that change. I observed many times that people who are becoming hairstylists and manicurists in Oregon had to have 600 hours of training, but you could, have people's lives in your hands and fly a plane with 250 hours. That was not adequate. Some are out there saying that this has led to a pilot shortage. As Ranking Member Larson said earlier, we have a study showing that the pay is pathetically low at some regional airlines. And, just look at Embry-Riddle. If you go to school there and go through the training for your certificate, it comes to about $300,000. Now, let's say, okay, some are advocating, well, let's roll back the hours and some other things, cut the costs. All right, let's cut it down to $200,000 to get a certificate, something I don't support, but if you think about what that means, $200,000 is a little over $2,000 a month on your loans, and you're earning $20,000 a year. Now, how does negative $4,000 income work out? That's why we had the co-pilot on the Colgan flight living in her parents' basement in Seattle and deadheading across the country. That shouldn't happen. And a lot of young people are not going to make a rational decision to become pilots until the pay better matches the costs of getting the certificate and engaging in that occupation. So I think that is a problem, but weakening the rules is not the solution. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, Mr. DeFazio.